Hey guys, welcome to the Homestead. So today we're going to talk about Refuge Medical. I was recently invited to take a class out there in Oklahoma. I finally got to meet Bear from Bear Independent and talk with him and meet his cadre, and went through their first, it was the Refuge Responder class. Very, very good class. Unlike anything I've ever taken before. So let me give you a quick background. I've been in the military. I was in the infantry, and when I got out of the military, I served for. I worked for a year as an armed security guard at downtown Barnes Hospital. If you know Barnes Hospital, it's a level 1 trauma center. It's in the Central West End. After dark, it becomes like Beirut. Sometimes during the day too. Anyway. You see stuff. It's a level 1 trauma center. You're seeing stuff coming in all the time, especially on the weekends, 1st and 15th of the month. If you know, you know. So I've been through a number of classes. I've been through Stop the Bleed classes. I've been through different tourniquet classes and just different things like that. You know, mostly basic stuff. And this was beyond any of that. This takes it to a very new level. There's a reason why when you read reviews about the Refuge Medical classes and at the Refuge Training, they do things, and you'll see people from law enforcement and people who have held or do have operator status from different levels of the military. They say it's the best class they've ever been through. Because even in the military, I mean, we had tourniquets in the military, and it was basically just this like strings of like cloth, and you had to like use your shelter half, tent stakes to be the stick to twist it down, and the things have come a long way. And you're taking that training and you're putting yourself into a semi-stressful situation in order to better be able to react and deploy those skill sets that may be called upon. So this was unlike anything I've ever done. And they do a great job there. Just fantastic team all around. But I want to just kind of point out some things. When you're doing your classes, the whole point of this thing is muscle memory. They want to drive into you muscle memory. So when you take the class, and I'm not going to give away too much of it because there are certain scenarios they probably want to keep on the down low so that you don't know what to expect when you go through one of these classes, because all of that is going to put you in unexpected situations to see how you react, and so that if you ever find yourself in a situation, you will better be able to, use the things you've learned. And so, but all classes that I've taken, and I've taken a lot of different training courses over the years, and the best classes always drive home muscle memory. Muscle memory. Whether you're deploying a firearm or whether you are going through medical training, it's about muscle memory, doing that task over and over and over and over again. And in semi-stressful situations, so that if you ever find yourself in a situation where you have to do those things, you know how to do them without thinking because you've done them so many times. And it's something that you continually train and keep up on your skills for. So they drive home that point. Very few classes do that, especially in the medical world. What usually happens in the medical world, you get into a classroom, you sit down, there's a couple of instructors, maybe a PowerPoint, maybe a video, and you're going to have this like arm-looking thing, and you're going to be able to stuff gauze in it, and you're going to be able to put a tourniquet on it and crank it down, and the instructor says, "Good job," and you've now earned your certificate. Here you go. With this, without letting too much go, this was the first time I've ever applied a tourniquet and actually applied a tourniquet on myself. I mean, I've put tourniquets on myself before, whether in class or just here at home, just to keep up. But the instructor goes around and he's going to check your pulse to make sure there is none. And so he does this for the entire class. And then he begins talking. He doesn't let you take the tourniquet off. The tourniquet's still on, no pulse. And he begins talking for another 10 minutes. And there are words coming out of his mouth, but there is no comprehension going on up in my brain. Because everything up in my brain is saying, "Please make the bad man stop." Finally, Bear sees this and says, "Okay, I can see you're stressing out a little bit. You may slowly take your tourniquets off." So you unwrap the thing, and there's a collective sigh of relief that goes over the class as you do so. And that's never happened before. But see, there's a reason why you put yourself through that sort of training. It's the same way in the military. When you go through basic training, they put you in the gas chamber. They want you to have that experience. They want you to have that level of understanding so that if you ever have to deploy, certain measures, you know what's happening to the person who you're deploying those against. I hope that makes sense. So what that means is exposure to the real thing and muscle memory. I think I deployed a tourniquet probably 24 times during the course of the training, sometimes laying down, sometimes, rolling over in the mud, doing it on another guy or doing it on myself or while somebody else was doing it on me, or it was just different scenarios, different scenarios that you may find yourself in one day. And that's good because, you may not be in a classroom with a nice, perfect environment, perfect lighting and everything when you need to deploy a tourniquet. So it's good to put yourself in those situations. The second thing that really makes this class stand out is that it has a biblical worldview. Most medical training, in fact, all medical training that I've ever been through is under the foundational assumption that there's an evolutionary worldview, meaning that you're just a bunch of chemicals that randomly got together by chance 1 billion years ago, or whatever it is these days they're saying. And the way we fix you is to either take away, add, or change the chemicals. And even though trauma medicine is different than internal medicine or surgical medicine, that still applies. And so I have seen that over and over again as I've gone through different medical training courses. They never have a biblical worldview, whereas Bear is very upfront and saying, hey, listen, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. The Creator had a purpose when He made you, and this is how you can best go about fixing you with that in mind. And you don't get that anywhere. And I think that's one of the main reasons he does the training in the way he does, because he focuses on that. That is above and beyond a reason for you to take the class. So one of the things that he mentioned is that he got feedback from, and I think this has happened multiple times to him, but he's gotten feedback from people who, regular civilians like you and me, who have been out there in the world and have had to deploy this sort of training in a real world situation. And the feedback he gets is, hey, that was a lot easier than actually doing it in the class. The class was actually more stressful than doing it in real life when I needed to do it. And I think that's because a lot of the times when something like this happens, where some sort of horrible event has taken place, there is a silent shock that just kind of descends over the scene. People are completely taken out of their wheelhouse. This is not of the norm, and they don't know how to react. And there's this shock. And that allows you, as someone who has seen this and done this in a stressful or semi-stressful situation in training, allows you to go to work. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think that's the case. Not every once in a while there's someone who's a complete and total basket case on scene who makes your life, crazy, but as you're trying to do your job. But I think for the most part, that's not the case. And that's why he gets the feedback he does. And that's why it's so valuable for you, a regular civilian, to take this class. You don't have to be an athlete to take this class. There was a lot of people there who were definitely not athletes, and they came out of the class fantastic. So it doesn't matter what level of training you've had before. It doesn't matter what kind of condition you're in. Of course, being in good shape is a benefit all around. But you should not discount yourself if you're not like an athlete. They are going to put you into some stressful situations. They are going to tax you a little bit because they want you to be able to perform under pressure if the situation ever calls for it. The bottom line of all this is training. You need to train. Okay, you can have the best equipment, you can have the best medical kits, you can have the best firearms, you can have the latest and greatest gear for whatever prepping or whatever, it hits the fan type scenario. But if you don't train with it and train with it under someone who has more knowledge than you, who can take you under their wing and show you some stress about why this gear and why this stuff you have can benefit you, I think you're setting yourself up to probably fail. You can go out and buy a gun, but if you've never been through an advanced pistol class, how do you know you're going to deploy it effectively? Sure, the gun gives you an equalization that you would not normally have if you didn't have it, but being able to deploy it in an effective manner puts you head and shoulders above any opposition that may be out there usually. Most criminals don't go through firearms training. Okay, that being said, one other thing I'll mention here is that Bear mentioned in the class he was giving, he asked a question at one point, does anybody have here any butchering experience? Because he was trying to describe the diaphragm and the way our Creator made our bodies and how it was really ingenious how it was set up on the inside, keeping the internal organs away from most, like the intestines and stomach and everything away from the internal organs. And so me and my son raised their hand among a couple of other people in the class. And as we left the class, me and my son were driving home and talking about some of the class, and it kept going back to some of our butchering experience. And it dawned on me that this is one of the reasons why I think that butchering, again, is so valuable. I have said before on my channel that I think butchering is probably the most valuable homesteading skill you can have. And the reason it's the most valuable is because amongst homesteaders and amongst people in general, it is the most rare. Rare things are valuable. And as we were going through the class, learning lots of things and just having that experience and having it go back so many times to think about what we have, how we've learned things in butchering animals. Knowing how you're put together, knowing how things are put together makes you a much better responder when things are broken. I think that's the case. Correct me if you think I'm wrong. I don't think I am. Again, I think learning how things are put together, and you do that by learning how to butcher. Learning how things are put together makes you a better first responder when things are broken. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. All right. Anyway, it's great time, great training. I highly recommend it. Sign up if you can. The best way to get he said the best way to learn when new classes are coming up are by getting on their email list. So you don't wait till he mentions it on a video. You want to get on that list before time. Other than that, I think I just need to go there for PT every so often. I came home and I was sore for a couple days. And it's because, I lift weights here. I work out and I just, but it's been a while. It's been some years since I've low crawled through some mud. I've worked out some muscles I've forgotten about. Oh, check out our merchandise over at teespring.com. You can find our Stupid Shit Hurt shirt. If we had more hurt in this world, we'd have an awful, awful lot less stupid. You can check out Refuge Medical. Just Google Refuge Medical. It'll come up. And you can sign up for the classes. Get on their email list. All right, guys. See you next time at the Homestead. Bye. This is Grandma. Grandma survived the Great Depression. She survived the Great Depression because her supply chain was local and she knew how to do stuff. Grandma was smart. Grandma told us to make do with what you got. She also said, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Homesteading is all about self-reliance and declaring ourselves to be independent from the system. We grow our own food, we raise our own animals, and doing these things helps safeguard our families from the unpredictable world that surrounds us. But what about banking? I love being my own power company, but what about being my own bank? Right now, our country is over $30 trillion in debt and rising. The Fed keeps printing money, and the Congress won't stop spending money. Staying attached to the modern banking system and their investment vehicles is like putting all of your eggs in one very, very fragile basket. On one side, you have the threat of inflation and your savings value floating away, and the other side is a possible deflationary stock market collapse, just like what happened in the 1930s. Genesis Gold Group is like a basket holding eggs, and these eggs are impossible to break. History shows us that all paper investments have and will return to their intrinsic value eventually. Zero. But gold, silver, and other precious metals have never, ever been worthless. In every collapse throughout history, people have turned back to precious metals to find monetary value. If you have a 401k, an IRA, or a savings account where you're literally watching the purchasing power inflate away, give Genesis Gold Group a call right now. Today, this instant. They can develop a strategy for you in the days ahead. I can tell you how I raise sheep, I can tell you how I raise chickens, or the best way to grow tomatoes, or how to hook up a solar panel. But Genesis Gold Group is your best shot at safeguarding your hard-earned savings and investments during this increasingly turbulent time in history. The link and phone number is in the description below, or visit their website at genesisgoldgroup.com. And be sure to say you heard about them from An American Homestead. Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of An American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. I'll wait.